Hi everybody, it's the Somatid Man again. This lecture is about, I know I've talked about AIs before. This is going to get more extensive. The real truth about AIs and why they were created. It started way back in Egypt, believe it or not. If you look at some of the different gods that they had, you can even see somewhat of a form of an AI. If you read some of the Bible, you even understand a little bit more. Putting gods back together when they're killed, you'll find out some of that. If you check out all the different gods, you'll see a form. If you look at it carefully and read, it's like they were the gods, alien gods. No, they were actually created and used as the gods. But I imagine many of them were AIs. So what I'm getting at, if I'm correct, like Hawking said, we better be careful or it could be the end of the human race and the beginning of the AIs. Well, it actually is true that the human race is slowly going to turn into AIs. Now, I've said that before, but now I'm going to give you some of the information. One of the information is the fact that really technology didn't really get going until the magical 60s. The first thing that came along was that good old computer. Kind of a form of an AI, wasn't it? Well, that was the beginning stages to teach the AI. All the TV shows and the movies, we were made to think they were just imagination. Maybe there's more reality than you believe. And if you look at them now, you really see the AIs in big time. But the computer was the start. Forgive my throat, I'd rather have one of these than hack and cough and all this other crap. But the computer was the real first step. Then as time wore on, they created more and more technology until they reached a point that they could even bring out the idea of an AI. Of course, they're telling you it's all good. Nothing has a negative part of it. But if you check out way, way back in China, they were creating AIs. Oh, they weren't fancy Dans like us. But over time, they created these robots. And of course, in the beginning, they just look wild like a movie robot. But as time has gone on, as they talk in all the comedy shows and cartoons, that they want to be robots. They want to have super capability and an incredible brain. Well, when they push that on you, you don't realize it. Like Star Trek. As I said with Spock, half a brain's better than none. But all these different TV shows and movies were opening the door for us to think that an AI is a good thing. Well, they do good things with it. Meanwhile, they do bad things with it. If you go back to China, you'll see the idea and the creating they do have started with supposedly before here. I'm not that sure since the Illuminati run everything. But I watched some video of these robots that were being made in China. And if you looked at those videos, they were really just robots, metal and all that. But then after a little while, they went and started going all over the world. All the universities started putting together human-looking AIs. It's taken a while, but they finally reached, believe it or not, a point of this, well, just bald-headed, but can't have everything, talking and communicating with a real human being. In fact, I can't remember her name, but I think she was given actual right to vote. Sounds absurd, doesn't it? I can assure you, if you check it out, you'll find that with the intelligence of her brain that was created now, it's not a brain like ours. They were able to ask questions, answer questions, do all these different things. So over a bit of time that she had been created, they thought she deserved citizenship and to vote. Because after all, she is alive, or at least technologically alive. But this is where things were really headed when the computer was created. You know already, I've told you about all the evolution of all the different technology and all the toys they made, so that's not important. It's important because we're not very aware and we don't see the bad parts. We only see the good. But again, I'll tell you, in these universities, and remember, the Illuminati control everything, so being in those universities are by design. China creating the first so-called robots by design. You know, China's been used as an ass a lot of different ways. People the same as you and me, of course, they can't get a house. The point I'm making to you is it's starting to spread all over the world, and so it doesn't affect anything. They're doing it in universities and such. Well, why should we worry? It's a university. They're just doing some work to see what they can do and practice, and maybe they'll come up with something. Well, if it was just like that, how come there's, I don't know how many universities, schools, and various medical operations that are getting into creating AIs. Now, why? If you're going to use them to do the toys and you're going to use them to do the work, that's great. But is that the final analysis? They're already telling you they're creating AIs that look human, that can see through a technological advancement like eyes. That should be a scary thought, shouldn't it? That comes back to what I said before. Why would they go through all this? Oh, and I don't mean every one of the people in the organization knows that they're being screwed and they're helping to create the end of the human race. Nobody's perfect. But they believe this crap. They don't understand what they're helping to create. Think of Einstein when he found out how much he helped the military. He was thrilled. He disappeared. No, he wasn't murdered. He couldn't face the world anymore. Once he understood it. Reminds me of a story about Alec Baldwin. He was in this movie, and he was supposed to shoot one of the other actors. But the idiot, somehow, who took care of this, actually left in live ammo. So when he shot, he killed somebody. Now, did he expect that? No. Of course, the person paid for their sins. I think it's way beyond sins if you're not bright enough to make sure there aren't any loaded pistols or anything around that can kill an actor. But my point I'm really making is, if you don't pay attention, that anything can happen. And look what happened to poor Alec Baldwin. I'm just bringing that up because of Einstein. But my point again to you is through all this time, they've been trying to get to here. Now, here sounds kind of funny, but it's like, what better thing can I say that the time is now? It's here. It's been here for a while. We just didn't know it because they didn't bring it out of hiding. Once they got to a certain point, and AIs don't really mean anything to the human race. So they knew it was safe enough to start spreading it. You've got the University of, I'm trying to think, boy, my brain, UCLA is one of them. Another one is a very large university. I think, I can't remember if it was Maryland or it doesn't really matter. What matters is the fact, I'm not going to worry about what particular university. There are a lot of them all over the world. This way, they can get their work done quicker, create that human robot they want, and let the people think that they're all going to help. They're going to do the work that has to be done so the human race can't get in a bad place where they could be injured. Well, I got a clue for you folks. They're giving you this BS right now. Ancient Aliens on the cable did one recently on AIs and talking about Hawking's telling the people that it could signal the end of the human race. Well, if that's the case, and someone like Hawkins tells you, you should listen. He's not the only one, by the way. I'm just using him as a large example. And if that's the case, then right now, that's what they're doing. Even Siri is a AI. It talks back to you when you talk to it. Of course, it's a minor AI, and no one's afraid of it. But my point to you is, yes, it's shown to have some interesting things that can be done, and it can save you time and all these other things. That's wonderful. But behind your back, they're creating a system that they're eventually going to bring out to the people through, I believe, all different ways, food, drugs, you name it, to make a synthetic human being, which no longer makes you a human being. But it can make you into a human robot. If they can understand how the brain works because they created it, they sure as hell should know how to make give you a synthetic substance that will help you on your way to become an AI. Again, I can't emphasize it enough that it's becoming the norm. Universities are doing it. They're being interviewed. There are so many people that are being interviewed, they don't know their ass from a hole in the ground, or they're the sleaziest bunch you'll ever meet. Now, in my opinion, the Illuminati are the sleaziest bunch, so I'm probably guessing that quite a number of them know exactly what they're doing. But we have to take an interest in the fact that they're doing this in a normal university. It's a nice cover. They cloak themselves pretty well by being in schools. So you wouldn't think twice about what might be happening that even a lot of them don't know. As I said before, I feel for the future generations if we don't get off our ass and do something about this. We outnumber them by so many I can't even begin to tell you. We've got 8 billion people in the naked city. All right, some of the older people recognize that. It's not really said like that, but it's in one of the old shows when I was younger. So, I don't know what else to say, except we have to take responsibility for this. We can no longer sit back, play with the toys, and think that's all they're for. When you start seeing robots being built in the universities, and they're trying to make them look human and be human, that's a nice cover. But if they're giving you something to make more and more synthetic, you can bet your ass it is just a cover. And that we either care about us and our future generations so we don't allow this to occur. But that means there should be a lot of different investigations going on throughout the world, through the schools and the hospitals and whatever, to find out what they're really doing. But we don't care. I can sit here and talk to you for years. You've got to care. It means your future. It means your children's future and their children's future. Do you want to be a human robot? Is that what you're looking for? All these dumbass shows like Big Bang Theory where Sheldon wants to be super robot so he's got the most powerful brain. Well, that's a promotion. That's not just entertainment. And there are many other shows or movies that they want to be. I can only say a super brain. They don't realize what comes with that. And they sure as hell aren't going to tell you in the entertainment field. Many movies you see all these super intelligent beings. Some are robots, some aren't. It depends on what show you're watching or the movie. But my point to you is they're just distractions and illusions. The real things that are happening is to create you. Not the way you are, but the way they want you to be. Eventually, as I said before, they want their entire control of you. As David Icke talked about the 15-minute cities. all about is that's as far as you can go, or you either get penalized or whatever. I don't know what actually is going to happen, but David brought up a good point. But as I said again, I will say over and over and over, check, study. After you've done that and you've done your search and your study, they aren't going to tell you everything. You're going to have to look for that information. You also have to use common sense and realize if that's the case and they're doing all this, why? Why are they making them look human? You don't have to make a robot look human. It can do the same work, but they want them to look human and be able to let us think that they're able to do everything that we won't have to do anymore. Well, think again. That's just their prototype to get all the bugs out before you. Once they get you, there are no bugs. You're controlled, and you'll never think again once they get to that point. They will have a human robot. You will be worth nothing other than to do your slave job. And will you die the same? We don't know. Are we going to have the opportunity to go inside ourselves? I don't think so. Because that's where you find out about all the different things, the different dimensions and everything else. They want you here. They want slaves for eternity. And see, they've created the cave beings and us, and now they want to go a little step further with the technology that they knew when they got here. This has been a slow evolution. Well, the cave beings only did their work and then were exterminated. But the human race has been an evolution till we got to the point of this technology, the computer. That's when it really began. They also did it at a point in time where we were ready for this because of all the technology we had had up to that point. That we were ready for that computer. We were ready to have actually an AI work with us. You never thought of the computer being an AI, but it's artificial intelligence. What is a computer? All right, I'll get back to the reality instead of just playing around. My point to you, though, is real. The computer started this ball rolling, and look where we are now. We're at that point now where we believe that AIs, the robots, are here to help us. They're not. They're here to manipulate us. They're here to let us think that they can do all the things that don't have to be done by the human race anymore. Meanwhile, you're being completely changed and more synthetic. And when they reach that point with you, where you're totally like that, they can control the brain. And when they control the brain, as I said before just a little while ago, you do no longer exist. You better hope you can get your ass out of here and get it within yourself, because then you can get away before they actually create this mess, which they are creating as I speak. Again, universities, very powerful universities, are doing this as a normalcy. Now you know that they're trying to con you. Because people won't think twice about university doing anything. All that matters is they're maybe learning or teaching the kids something or whatever, but they don't realize the reality of all these universities creating AIs. They're not just here to help us. They're a good start for the Illuminati to get their AIs together and create human AIs. But right now, we have a chance to try and understand this. Maybe I screwed up a little bit. I'm kind of tired. I played drums today, so I'm a little bit baked. But that's the truth. They started in China, they got into other countries, and then they brought it out to the world, brought it to all the universities. That makes it seem normal, doesn't it? Because anything at university is just a learning experience. Well, they're not. The universities were built long ago for one of these exact reasons that's going on right now. It's been a slow evolution. They've gotten into other things, and they haven't been things that are horrible, so we never thought twice. But now they're creating robots. I even did a song called 5 Cents Reality. And I said, time has passed and their agenda continues. Technology is their brand new game to enslave us deeper into the confusion. You're living in a dream in 5 cents illusion. Well, I say that, but now let's change it up a bit. You won't stay human in this 5 senses unless you wake up to the fact that they're trying to take it away from you. Why be surprised they took out the cave beings? What's wrong with taking us to a certain step and getting us to become slaves forever? But that's the most important thing. Just because it's in a university does not mean that they're doing the good for mankind. It just wasn't the right time until they thought it was to put them out to the schools, so nobody would object or think it's odd. But if you look carefully throughout, since the computer to all the toys that were built, and how you got into them. Meanwhile, they were doing other things, as we found out, different weapons and all kinds of different things that were able to be controlled. That's kind of a form of a blowing up AI, I guess. All right, I'll be sarcastic. But my point I'm trying to make to you, and I've said it so much, I'm repeating myself, but I'm trying to make it clear. They're making it look normal. It's not normal. Go to the churches. It's still not normal. Don't let them fool you with this crap. Realize that what they're trying to do is take over your entire life, take your brain away from you, take your children's brain away from them. Eventually, history won't exist because we won't remember it. So all these things are at stake. You want to remember history? Then don't let it disappear by becoming a synthetic, wipe-ass human robot. You want your children to grow up with their own consciousness and their brain? Then don't let this happen. All these different things depend upon us. All we have to do is no longer agree to do it. Don't acquiesce. Think for yourselves before you don't have a brain to think with. if you do that, you might be able to stop this horrible thing from happening. It's on its way. Go check out things on human robots. You'll find out things happen in China and Japan. And of course, don't think that's the only place. But the point is, if that's where it started, that's where it started. Where a lot of things start in China, if it's true. But you and I both know from things I've told you that things happen everywhere. Look at Israel, the fall guy. Everybody feels sorry for him, except the other side that doesn't feel sorry for him and feels sorry for Hamas. All right. Obviously, I made my point. But we've got to take hold of this problem and get educated. You don't want this to happen. Just because it's in normal places doesn't mean it's normal. Hopefully, I've gotten that point across without sounding like an idiot, because sometimes my brain went. But I'm hoping it stayed in line to a certain point where it's worth keeping. But I think I've said enough about this. The only other thing I can say about the AIs is the ancient gods were very possible to be AIs. And they were considered the so-called gods, but they really were AIs. The aliens, or whatever, did what they did to control the people, thinking of the way they did of the gods that they followed. But if it's true they were AIs, then this started a long time ago. They just didn't use it until now, or a little before this point, because we weren't ready for it. Not that we should be ready for it. We should be against it completely 100%. But it wasn't the right time until this last few years. And now it's moving faster and faster. So it's up to you to use your brain while you still have it and spread the word so people know what's really happening with the AI. I call it something else, but I won't use it here. It's not exactly clean. Well, I can. How about an asshole idiot, an AI? Now, I'm not talking about the robots. I'm talking about us. We have to wake up and realize we're their ultimate goal, their prize. If we can understand that, we won't let them, then they have no prizes. I guess it's a bad Jeopardy game, I guess, or whatever the other shows. I don't remember Jeopardy, but I do remember something about the idea of, if I remember correctly, you make money because of certain things that you have to do. I wish I could remember Jeopardy as many years ago. I think it's coming back with Mayim Bialik and someone else. And she used to be on Big Bang Theory. And she actually is a scientist. And she's a scientist. And either she's a liar or she doesn't know her ass from a hole in the ground to understand what's really going on with the AIs. I never hear anything from any of the scientists except for a few. That's it. Not many say anything about this. But the ones that do, I'm there with them. I'm there for them. Just go into a computer, isn't that funny, an AI, and go and check it out, and go under scientists who understand the possibility of controlling the human race with AIs. If you go there, you'll see. Now, that doesn't mean you're not going to be flesh and blood. It just means you won't have a brain. They're not going to make you look any different. They're going to make one race and it all look the same. Just another step along the way to make sure that everybody is the same and looks the same and does what they're told, because they have no brain to no longer think. So all these things that have been happening, ultimately, once it reaches to that one point where they completely control the human race and then can completely take over their brains and no longer think for themselves. I hope that's clear. I don't know any other way to put it. But you got to wake up and realize if it's in the colleges, it doesn't mean that it's good. It definitely doesn't mean it's good if it's in the hospitals. And it is no good for us to sit around and think that we're getting something for ourselves, more toys to play with, when then you're going to be the toy. But anyway, we'll leave it right there. Let's hope I didn't screw it up. You take care, and if I didn't love you, I wouldn't do it.